Hello students, I am Raghavendra Kumar Singh, faculty of US Academy and Institute. Today we will discuss Class 8 History's third chapter, Ruling the Countryside. In this chapter we will discuss how the company came to colonize the countryside, organize revenue resources, redefine the rights of people, and produce the crops it wanted. The company became the Diwan. The East India Company became the Diwan of Bengal on 12th August 1765. As Diwan, the company became the chief financial administrator of the territory. Under its control, the company needed to administer the land and organize its revenue resources. It needed to be done in a way that could yield enough revenue to meet the growing expenses of the company. Now, the revenue for the company. The company aim was to increase the revenue to buy fine cotton and silk cloth as cheaply as possible within a span of 5 years. The value of goods bought by company is Bengal doubled. The company before 1865 purchased goods in India by importing gold and silver from Britain. Now it was financed by the revenue collected in Bengal. Artisanal production was in decline, and agricultural cultivation showed sign of collapse. Then in 1770s, a terrible famine killed 10 million people in Bengal. Now the need to improve agriculture. In 1793, the company introduced the permanent settlement. By the terms of the settlement, the Rajas and Talukdars were recognized as Jamindar, who were asked to collect rent from the peasants and pay revenue to the company. The amount to be paid was fixed permanently. This settlement would ensure a regular flow of revenue into the company coffers and at the same time encourage the Zamindars to invest in improving the lands. Now the problems. The permanent settlement created problems. Soon, the company officials discovered that the Zamindar were not investing in the improvement of land because the fixed revenue was very high. By the first decade of the 19th century, the situation changed. The prices in the market rose and cultivation slowly expanded. Even then, the Zamindars were not interested in improving the land. In the villages, the cultivators found the system extremely oppressive. The rent they paid to the Zamindar was high, so they took a loan from the moneylender, and when they failed to pay the rent, they were evicted from the land. A new system was devised. The company official decided to change the system of revenue. Holt Mackenzie devised the new system, which came into effect in 1822. Under his direction, collectors went from village to village, inspecting the land, measuring the field, and recording the customs and rights of different groups. The estimated revenue of each plot within a village was added up to calculate the revenue that each village mahal had to pay. This demand was to be revised periodically, not permanently fixed. The charge of collecting the revenue and paying it to the company was given to the village headman rather than the zamindar. This system came to be known as The Mahalwari settlement. Now, the Monroe system. In the British territory in the south, a new system was devised known as Rotwar or Rotwari. This system was gradually extended all over South India. The settlement had to be made directly with the cultivators, Roth, who had tilled the land for generations. Their field had to be carefully and separately surveyed before the revenue assessment was made. All was well or not. In order to increase the income from land, revenue officers fixed his revenue demand. Peasants were unable to pay, riots fled the countryside, and villages became deserted in many regions. Now, crops for Europe. By the late 18th century, the company tried to expand the cultivation of opium and indigo. The company forced cultivators in various parts of India to produce other crops: jute in Bengal, tea in Assam, sugarcane in the United Provinces, now Uttar Pradesh, wheat in Punjab, cotton in Maharashtra and Punjab, rice in Madras. Does color have a history? The rich blue color was produced from a plant called indigo. The blue dyes used in the Morris prints in 19th century Britain was manufactured from indigo plants cultivated in India. Indigo was the biggest supplier of India was the biggest supplier of indigo in the world at that time. Why the demand for Indian indigo? Indigo plants grow in the tropics, and Indian indigo was used by cloth manufacturers in Italy, France, and Britain to dye cloth. A small amount of Indian indigo reached the European market, and its price was very high. Therefore, European cloth manufacturers and to depend on another plant called wood to make violet and blue dyes. Indigo produced a rich color, blue color, whereas the dye from wood was pale and dull. By the end of the 18th century, the demand of Indian indigo grew further, while the demands for indigo increased. Its existing supply from the West Indies and America collapsed for a variety of reasons between 1783 and 1789. The production of indigo in the world tells by half. Now, Britain turns to India. In Europe, the demand for indigo was high, so the company in India looked for ways to expand the area under indigo cultivation. Gradually, the indigo trade grew, so commercial agents and officials of the company began investing in indigo production. The company officials were attracted by the prospects of high profit and came to India to become indigo planter. How was indigo cultivated? There are two main systems of indigo cultivation, niche and roti. Within the system of niche cultivation, the planters produce indigo in lands that has directly controlled. He either bought the land or rented it for other zamindars and produced indigo by directly employing hired laborers. The problem with the niche cultivation. Under niche cultivation, the planters found it difficult to expand the area. Indigo could only be cultivated on fertile land. Planters attempted to lease land around the indigo factory and evict the peasants from the area. Niche cultivation on a large scale also required many plough and bullocks. Till the late 19th century, planters were therefore reluctant to expand the area under niche cultivation. Indigo on the land of riot. The planters under the royalty system were forced to sign a contract, an agreement, means satta. Those who signed the contract got cash advance from the planters at low rates of interest to produce indigo. When the harvested crops were delivered to the planters, a new loan was sanctioned and the cycle starts all over again. Peasants soon realized how the loan system was. After an indigo harvested, the land could not be sown with rice. Now, the Blue Rebellions and after. Riots in Bengal refused to grow indigo. Peoples who worked for the planters were socially boycotted, and Gamosthas, agents of planters who came to collect rent, were beaten up. The Bengal riots had the support of the local zamindar and village headmen in their rebellion against the planters. The indigo peasants believed that the British government would support them in their struggle against the planters. After the revolt of 1857, the British government was worried about the possibilities of another popular rebellion as the rebellion spread intellectually from Calcutta. Rush to the Indigo district. The government set up the Indigo Commission to inquire into the system of indigo production. The commission asked the Riots to fulfill their existence contract, but also told them that they could refuse to produce indigo in future. Indigo production collapsed in Bengal after the revolt when Mahatma Gandhi returned from South Africa. A peasant from Bihar persuaded him to visit Champaran and show the plight of the indigo cultivators. In 1917, he visited Witch Market, the beginning of the Champaran movement against the indigo planters.